Welcome to Catching Up with Georgia Tennis Hall of Fame member Bill Ozaki. I am broadcasting here live from the Sessions Family Georgia Tennis Hall of Fame and Museum, and this is an effort for us to give the Hall of Fame some publicity. We're here in Marietta at the beautiful Hall of Fame and Museum, and we have so many great members of the Georgia Tennis Hall of Fame, and we're really blessed today to be joined by class of 2019 member Bill Ozaki. Bill, how you doing?
Good. We're surviving up here.
Yeah, so you retired, of course, from USTA Southern middle of last year. A lot of us always felt that you were the smartest person in the room, and definitely that's the case here. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, what have you been doing to keep yourself entertained and safe?
Well,
in that order.
Yeah, thank you. I've actually started before the pandemic. So last year, when we were still in Flowery Branch, I started since I didn't have to drive that 3 hours a day to work and be at work and everything. So started exercising. Believe it or not, some people might not believe that. Started that. And then it increased this year when we sold our home in Flowery Branch and moved permanently to Cherry Log, Georgia. And then the pandemic hit, so without going anywhere, so increased that. So I'm probably fitter than I have been in a long time, although unfortunately I haven't played any tennis.
Well, I didn't request the wide angle camera lens today, so you look great. It's great. In all seriousness, it's great to see you. And yeah, obviously it was a difficult time. Hopefully we're starting to slowly get going here and resume a little bit. But I mean, everybody miss you. Everywhere I go, every restaurant in town, everybody's asking about you. So that's one of the questions I had. Are you planning on writing the Zagat guide? Ozaki guide?
No, you bet. I can't wait to get back eating at those places to try to help them recover from this.
Yeah, been a hard time. But so we've got a couple things up on the screen. It was really difficult. Well, it's always difficult to keep things to one screen, right? But some of Bill's accomplishments over the years, unbelievable career, both in the office and on the court, and as a player as well. Bill, I guess that's another thing you and I have common. We're both state high school champions. I actually won the California one many years ago. Of course, doubles. I had a great partner. So you were the 1971 Georgia High School State Championship. Do you remember? And that was before I was born, by the way. But do you remember?
I figured it was. And you were California, which was a little bit bigger than Georgia. I do remember it. In fact, I felt like, being from South Georgia, I thought, well, I was a big wheel down there between that and Jacksonville, Florida, and came to this playoff in Macon, Georgia at Mercer. And immediately saw that I was at best the third best player there, because in one class behind me was Horace Reed, the great Horace Reed, and on another court was the great Betsy Butler. So,
wow, you're
at best I was third. But it was fun. Yeah, that was from Camden County High School, still down there. So I think I was the first one from there to win something in state. And I do have to put a plug in for the football team and my old school and teammate that won Quad A, believe it or not, 1 year. So after I left, of course. So yeah.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, no, it was fun reading up on some of your playing exploits. We played tennis every once in a while, and I mean, you can play, not just on clay. We're a great hardcourt player as well. But, so those of you that can see the camera, I'm actually here at the museum, and right behind me, just over my shoulder, is a life-size picture, almost, of Bill helping a junior. And Bill, I got to know you obviously because we had the same basic positions with our two sections. I was Southern California junior competition for many years, and of course you at Southern. But what I didn't know much about you is the impact that you've made off court in terms of a coach, with player development and your coaching, and also owning a club, and just all the things you've done. The picture here shows that you're helping a student. Can you talk about your experiences there, and maybe what made you decide I got to own my own club, and what what got through that experience, and how did that help you later in life?
Sure, glad to. And before that, though, I do have to mention Darren lived Southern California, which, in
Yeah.
Southern, we have the largest number of players and have tried hard to get, great players. And we've had a lot, but Southern Cal is the strongest area of the country forever and always will be. And Darren led that. We've had more world number ones come out of Southern Cal than anywhere. And a lot of that was during Darren's time. So I did want to mention that. Yeah, I did coach for 16 years, and in Atlanta, you when you coach to make a living back then in the 70s and 80s, you coach a lot of teams, a lot of Alta teams, USTA teams, and that's we were fortunate to make a living that way. And I did coach a lot of juniors, and we bought a small club because I didn't have any time extra to coach juniors. My time was all full with teams and some lessons in the afternoons, and my own children were playing. So a big part of the reason for buying this club, certainly didn't make much money at it, but I
Right.
was able to teach my own children first, plug them in, and that really was a big factor.
Yeah, I had no idea you were a club owner until I read your bio. So that very fascinating. That's, and I think that's kind of normal with a lot of folks, right? That go play college. We start looking for, okay, how can we stay in the game and make an impact? And certainly coaching and teaching, and probably not a lot of us own clubs like you did, but it's certainly a way for us a pathway for us to stay in the game. So then you decided, of course, what most people know you for was the 30 years of just incredible service, not just to the USTA, but to Southern, to all the players, to all your colleagues, and all of us. So why did you decide to go to Southern? Were you approached to take that job? Is it something that you maybe didn't think about until maybe somebody asked you? I'm just curious how you ended up at Southern.
Well, it's interesting. I was at the small club, and John, the longtime Southern executive director, great man, DeWitt Redgrave, who I knew had worked with a lot in leagues because I was a verifier and sent all over the place, and passed away. And John Callan was hired, and John was actually a tennis pro also at Indian Hills. I'd known John since a long time. He was hired as the executive director. Another dear friend, Lisa Berry, was the league director, and they opened up a new position to develop junior leagues, which kind of fell, in between where I was at and everything. And and so I saw the opening there and talked to them, and knowing both of them too was a big factor coming on with Southern at that time. So I actually started in junior leagues
Oh,
development,
okay.
working on what is now junior team tennis, and I did a lot of work with Billie Jean King and Alana Kloss because they were our sponsor,
Wow.
Domino's. They were a great sponsor, and did that actually for about a year, and then after that, then took over the player development spot after that from then
Yeah,
on.
since when you started, I was in high school. I don't know for a fact, but I would think that most of the USTA staff at the various levels had multiple responsibilities, right? I know in Southern
Oh
Cal,
yes,
the original office was at the LA Tennis Club, and I
yep.
mean, 3 or 4 staff did pretty much everything. So
It,
whatever
we
needed to be done.
we sure did, and it worked out that way till I retired. Where at the end there, I also had the TSRs and the other areas in the junior department, too. So you're exactly right. That's how the sections work.
Yeah. So obviously, with 30 years at Southern, you've had a lot of great moments. You've certainly, on the slide says you've mentored hundreds. It's probably more like thousands of junior players. Do you have? I'm not asking you to narrow it down maybe to one, but maybe one or a couple things that what I'm really proud of what we accomplished. Whether knowing you, it's never about you. What you say, it's always about everybody else. Or was there a specific player that you helped along the way that you kind of said, hey, you know what, that was really a great job, or maybe an event, or maybe a philosophy of the section and player development that you were able to institute? Is anything come to mind?
Sure, there's a couple of things. Grace Min, who's still playing right now, and her family are dear friends of ours. And actually, it was during the time started in Atlanta, and she had a lot of good coaches here in Atlanta. And then when I was with USTA and Key Biscayne, she trained with Jay DeLuey. So she and her mom would come stay with us on our tiny little house on Key Biscayne for weeks at a time. And so that was a great time. Jay did a great job with her. Grace worked hard, and then she's still playing. And so that was another tremendous thing there. I think the pros that have worked with over time that are so dedicated. They the things they do for players, they obviously have to make money. They want to get as many players as they can, top players and all. But every tennis pro I know that is in junior development carries some players, and you knew them in Southern Cal also. And people like Jerry Baskin, since my children were young, and Jerry actually worked with ours some too. We swapped off a little bit there, but he coaches whoever needs it. He coaches. He'll carry them. All the other coaches do the same thing. David Drew. Probably the ultimate one though was Branch Carrington, who went in the Georgia Hall of Fame a couple of years ago, and I was so glad he got in before he passed away. But Branch did mentor thousands of children through Washington Park, and there was, either no charge, whatever they could pay. Some children he, had to do other things for, like pay their lunch money and things like that. So, to be associated with somebody like that was just an honor for me.
Yeah, I know when Branch was inducted, I think I was sitting next to you during that ceremony, or I was at least close, and that was very important to you. And he actually, I believe, mentioned your name in his acceptance speech. And unfortunately, Branch passed away just after. So if there is solace, we were able to recognize his greatness and his impact before he passed away. So just a great man. I know he meant a lot to you.
And that was really one of the most, it was the most important thing to him to be in the Georgia Hall of Fame in his life, I believe. So it was great that he was able to do it, by his 90th birthday. So I thank the Georgia Hall of Fame and Georgia Tennis Association for that.
Yeah, I mean, I really, where I'm standing talking to you here, I can see all the little plaques of all the Hall of Famers. And I mean, I'm a little biased. I know you are as well. I'm not just saying this because you're in this Hall of Fame, but I mean, this Hall of Fame, I'd put up against anybody else. I mean, with the amount of folks that have truly made an impact in tennis at all levels, whether it's junior development, high school, a lot of collegiate accomplishments at the pro level, teaching professionals, administrators, just tennis enthusiasts, just an incredible collection of folks. And so, Bill, when you got the phone call that you were going to join this group, what went through your mind? What were some of the things, if you can share, without getting too emotional? Because I see you're cutting an onion right next to you in preparation for this question. What does the Georgia Hall of Fame mean to you?
When I got the call, and had been to several before, Hall of Fames, as you said, and know many of the people that are in it, and it's just an honor to be included with so many great people. I saw people at the Hall of Fame that I haven't seen in a long time. Dr. Danny Birchmore, was kind of an idol when he played at Georgia. He was so good and such a great competitor. Played #1 for Georgia for many years, and then became a doctor and still is practicing. Manny Diaz, also from Georgia. Jerry Baskin is a dear friend. Really, probably the greatest coach that I know, and has developed so many players. And and other people in there. John Callan, my dear friend, boss for so many years there. Others that were in there, Ruth Lay, people like that. So to be included with those, such a group, as you said, was just was a real honor for me. And I was glad most of my family was able to be there too. So.
Yeah. So as a related topic, when I made the decision to come to UST Georgia from Southern Cal, one of the things that struck me about not knowing a ton about Southern, other than really what I knew about Southern was you and Sandy Hastings and Mary Hatfield. And Mary Hatfield. Those are the three people I figured you guys ran Southern. But when I was doing my research on UST Georgia, and similar to what you just said, I was struck by the quality of our past presidents. Some of them are in the Hall of Fame, like a Julie Regg, Randy Stevens, Mac McDougall. Mac was a great man. Unfortunately, he passed away. And I'm sure I'm going to miss a whole bunch. Donna Bailey. Donna Bailey's made an unbelievable impact in grassroots tennis. If you pick up a thesaurus and the word grassroots tennis, literally there should be a picture of her name. She is the epitome of grassroots tennis. So that really struck me. And then when I started doing my research about the Hall of Fame, it's just an incredible group of people, and we're happy to hopefully catch up with a few of them, you being one, and we really appreciate your time. I guess one or two other questions. And we'll get a little personal here, right? We worked together a lot over the years, being from the sections, arguably the two leading sections from a player development competitive perspective.
Without a doubt.
With no disrespect to Kevin O'Shea at Texas. Although I would throw a Midwest in there, and I did want to, hopefully she'll see this, I did want to say hi, and I know Andrea Calvert-Sanders meant so much to you and I, and we work with so many great people over the years. But one thing I really appreciate, Bill, about our relationship is, we were on the polar opposites, right, on some philosophies and methodology, but we always were able to have those debates professionally and civilly and friendly, and we're just in two different worlds. So can you maybe talk about some of the staff you've been fortunate enough to work with over the years, both maybe at a national level with the other sections, and maybe some people at Southern that made a big impact on you?
Sure. And I'll use a quote from our mutual friend, Tim Russell. We would agree to disagree.
Yeah. You're entitled to your own opinion, but not your own facts.
That's right. That's right.
That was actually a Henry Talbot line. Talbot line. That's
right. Well, there's one of the greatest men I'll ever know, Henry Talbot. You mentioned Andrea Calvert Sanders from Midwest. During my time as a PD staff, I always felt like she was the top one. So sharp, such a great player. Brought Midwest way up. That Midwest wasn't even probably in the top 5 competitively. And I think they ended up, they were knocking on the door for Southern Cal and Southern, by the time she left. So that she really brought them for a long way. Two mentors. Probably maybe my greatest mentor was Bobby Curtis in Florida, the longtime junior comp person down there, just a legend, and ran tournaments and did everything with such a flair and everything. And then my replacement in Florida also, who was their junior comp or junior committee chair for so long, Maria Sercode, which I'm very glad that she's at Southern also too now. So you at Southern Cal, before you, John Lansville, another top person there. Jim Hillman and Bobby Curtis probably were the two of the greatest influences on me during this junior competition phase, of all time and everything. Just brilliant men and very compassionate. They always cared about the player, and everything. And going through this pandemic right now, my hope is that we're gonna come out better. An article that came to mind from 1975. Were you born then, there in 1975?
I was, depending on when in 75, I was either less than a year or a year old, but yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. But there was
I'm sure I read that article. I'm sure.
Yeah, I think it was, pretty sure it was 1975 because I was teaching, by Sally Jenkins. I'll never remember her name. With Sports Illustrated, that says, is tennis dying? And that was a wake-up call for us. And I think we have another wake-up call now. And since that article by Sally Jenkins, tennis has come a long way. And I think we've got the opportunity to do it again now, to come a long way, rebuild everything.
Well, we're biased, right? This is a sport we love, we played, and now we hopefully, you certainly have a huge impact in the sport, but it's such a great sport for juniors and for kids. Everything that they're taught, the ability to be able to stand up for yourself, for one, the ability to solve conflict without resorting to, some sort of physical or emotional, verbal violence. Most tennis players are great students because it does take very dedicated time management. it's just a great sport, and obviously the health benefits as well. So that, we just got to keep preaching that message. And we've got so many great people in tennis that that we just got to keep preaching that message and hope that it gets into the mainstream. I'm with you. I think we can come out of this. I know if on the Georgia side, we've restarted a couple of tournaments. They're all full. The kids are excited. They want to play. We're gonna play. We're gonna have everybody play safely. And but we have a chance to make an impact here. So I'm really happy to hear you say that. Is there anyone at Southern? When you mentioned John Callan, I know your longtime assistant probably was, still is a dear friend of yours, Sandy Hastings. And anything you'd like to say about Sandy and how he helped you and his impact in Southern tennis?
Sandy Hastings is just such he was a mentor. Sandy worked for Peter Burwash for, I don't know, 25, 30 years, probably all over the world, as a director. So, he was a top person with Peter Burwash, and came to run the Olympic Tennis Center. And his daughter was on the potential, hoping to win the national championship in softball at LSU. And Sandy actually took a leave from work for a year to go attend games, and they did win the national championship. And so that was Steph. And so and after that year, Sandy had already run tournaments. He ran the women's NCAAs there. If you remember, some other tournaments. So we knew what he could do. And Mary was on staff already, and we discussed it. We go, we should go after this guy. So after a year, and after his daughter had won the NCAAs, I said, hey man, were you going to work again, or are you just going to stay working? So we were able to talk him into coming. John got on board with it. The rest is kind of history. Just prince of a man that a lot of people don't know about. He actually didn't play tennis in college. He did play tennis, but he was a D1 quarterback. Originally going to Penn State. Yes, there's actually some YouTube out there, maybe of him at Maine. I think his first game throwing a touchdown pass, things like that. So also a tremendous baseball player, things like that. But yeah, he was a D1 quarterback. So he's quite an athlete and all, but just one of the best persons I'll ever know, and it still is. So.
Oh yeah, just a great man, and just had such a calm demeanor, and he loved barbecue. So what can possibly go wrong? So,
he did love barbecue, and then he allowed us to name a tournament after him. I don't know if you see the shirt. I do have.
Yeah, I did notice you had that on today.
Yeah, the Sandy Hastings Invitational tournament that he allowed to use his space. I think he allowed it.
Yeah.
For it.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I think he's still presenting Mary Hatfield's at the Hall of Fame induction. I think he's still presenting her. Anyway. Well, Bill, it's been an honor to talk to you, a Hall of Famer in every sense of the word, and we're thrilled to have you as part of this special group. And be safe, and hopefully at some point we'll drag you back into tennis. At some point, our committee appointment process starts soon, so you'll be getting an email.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you, Darren. I'm glad the tournaments have started back, and you're exactly right. The kids. They miss it. I know they're chomping at the bit to get out there, and I'm glad they're able to start back. So good luck with everything.
Thanks. Okay, folks, that's been Catching Up with 2019 Georgia Tennis Hall of Famer Bill Ozaki. Stay tuned for our next episode. Thanks for watching.